Hello, and welcome to another vlog. It's been a while since we've had a vlog in London, but I'm now back and it is great to be back. And I've got a lot to talk to you guys about. First of all, my book is now out worldwide. It feels fantastic to know that you guys are also buying this and enjoying this book with me. You can get it pretty much anywhere in the world wherever you typically buy books. If you order directly from my publisher, you can get the book and the ebook as a bundle. And if you live in an area and you're not sure where to buy the book, you can also reach out to my publisher on their website, which is linked in the description, or on their Instagram, and they'll be able to help you out specifically. But it's now out! Love it. We've got lots of other things to discuss. I've only actually been in London for about a month, and I haven't made any friendship bracelets in that time except for one. I made this massive alpha bracelet, which I'm not showing you because this is actually my dad's company logo. He has his own company and he requested I make a bracelet of his logo, so I did that. But that I literally only finished yesterday, and the reason I haven't made any bracelets this entire month and the month before I was traveling, so I didn't do that, but this entire month was because I cut my finger, and it was specifically this finger. I was peeling potatoes and my finger slipped and I ended up peeling a piece of my finger off. That was very painful, and I do not recommend doing that. So maybe be careful when peeling potatoes is my point. But it is finally back together now. So I was able to make this massive alpha bracelet. Just finished it. Yes, I've got lots more bracelets on my mind, but I am actually working on a cross-stitch project instead currently. And yeah, I think I'm gonna have a scar. It still hurts a little bit, like if you touch it in a weird spot. Like it's mostly healed, you know, on the surface, but I think it's still healing inside. I'm trying to be careful still. You might remember last year, if you've been watching my vlogs, or just, you know, following me on social media, I was working on this cutie. This is a pattern that I started last year. I did the actual bird, the robin part of it last year, and then I forgot that it existed for a long time. It also feels just like very much a seasonal pattern, and I think I did it up until like January and then I forgot about it, which makes sense because it is quite seasonal. It's like, it's supposed to be this bird on like a Christmas tree branch. So I've been working on this recently. I've done all the bits in green. I filled out a little bit here. I also made a mistake here last time, so I had to fix it, like unstitch a bunch and then fix it. But yeah, the bird is looking great. I'm sort of starting on, there's gonna be a branch like in this entire area. I'm hoping to get this finished like before the new year, but maybe it'll bleed through into January, but I'm hoping to get this finished this season and not have it be there for another season. I do have another cross-stitch project somewhere. A little raccoon, which is my bracelet book username, spelled incorrectly. If you didn't notice that, now you will. But I'm gonna wait to start that one until I finish this one. Although I do have another hoop. I don't necessarily need to wait to finish this to do that, but I feel like having two cross-stitch projects going on at once will be a bit confusing. So I'm waiting on that one. So yeah, I don't know. I feel in the mood to make some normal patterns instead of alphas, just because I did that massive alpha just now. But I also don't have any in mind, nor do I have any alpha patterns in mind. So I'm gonna have a look with you maybe. I'm gonna figure something out. But I also want to talk to you guys about books, because that's what my vlogs are for. Can't do that in my regular videos, so I do it in vlogs. I actually have a lot to discuss in terms of books. I have been reading a lot. I set the goal for the year for myself to read 30 books. I hit 24 last year, so I thought reading 30 this year would be quite reasonable if I could push it a little bit further. Also considering one of the books that I read last year was All the Young Dudes, which is a Harry Potter fanfiction about the Marauders, and I think that was somewhere close to like 2,000 pages, so that probably should have counted for like multiple books. I thought, you know, hitting 30 would be quite reasonable. I'm filming this at the start, well, middle of November. I'm already at 42, so I think I might hit 50. I'm not changing the Goodreads goal, I'm keeping it as 30 because that was the original. But my new sort of goal for myself is 50. I'm gonna see if I hit that. Next year's goal is likely to be 50. Anyway, let's talk about books a little bit. And also, I have changed my room layout a bit. I actually haven't filmed a video here yet. I don't know what the setup will look like when I'm filming. It might be a bit weird, but this is what it looks like currently. I got myself an armchair, so it's a recliner chair as well, which is fantastic. And this is now pretty much the only place that I read in the entire flat, so that's great. And I also have a TBR cart for books I haven't read yet. So I have two bookshelves, this one and the other one that we built together in a previous vlog. I just realized that it kind of makes me a bit anxious. Like when I have all of my books together, it makes me anxious looking at my bookshelves because I look at them and I see all the books I haven't read yet, and I feel like I need to read them now because it feels fake having all of these books on my shelves and then not having read all of them. Like it feels like I'm presenting this as like, oh yeah, I have all of these books, but I haven't actually read all of these books, so like what's the point in displaying them like that? So I've separated the books that I haven't read, and now my shelves only contain books that I have. So let me do a little shelf tour first. So starting here, we have a little bit of a mess. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this space. Got some bracelets over there that I need to store somewhere. We've got those 3 books, which I'm likely to be unhauling. I don't think I'm going to actually be reading these, except for Iron Widow. I am going to be reading that. I just have it in paperback now, so I'm going to be donating the hardback. And this is a beautiful painting that I got while I was in Spain. I like it a lot. So I'm now displaying it here temporarily and probably figuring out a place for it later. Going further up, we've got this shelf, which is a mix. I tried to give it some logic, but I feel like I don't have enough books yet to give it like a proper logic, so it is a bit of a mix currently. Also, I love those, they're so cute. But we've got Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express, loved that. Then we've got the Truly Devious first book in the series. I actually read the entire series, but I listened to them in audiobooks, so I don't have the other ones. I just have the first one, and I loved the entire series. Then we've got the Throne of Glass books. I've currently only read up until The Queen of Shadows. I'm gonna talk about that later. We've got the Grisha trilogy. Can't say that I particularly enjoyed that, but it's here. We've got Project Hail Mary, which is a sci-fi. I loved this one. This was a very recent read, but this was probably the best book I read in the entirety of 2022. I loved it. I sobbed at it. It was absolutely phenomenal. This is also the author of The Martian, so if you're into that kind of thing, highly recommend Project Hail Mary. It was phenomenal. And then we've got This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is sort of like a lyrical sci-fi romance, kind of. It was a very weird book, but I did enjoy it a lot. Moving up, we've got the ACOTAR series, which just kind of exists there. And then over on this side, we have the Six of Crows duology. Enjoyed that a lot. The Mistborn trilogy, one of my favorite series currently. Hunger Games, of course. Then we've got Elantris, also by Brandon Sanderson. Priory of the Orange Tree, which I read last year. The City of Brass trilogy, I finished that last month. It was phenomenal. Also probably one of the best books, specifically this one, that I've read in 2022. We've got The Alloy of Law. I still haven't read the other ones, but this is just here. The Cruel Prince trilogy, loved that. Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie was very enjoyable. Then we've got my rom-com shelf-ish. A couple of these are actually American editions, which is quite funny. I somehow got these 2 in American editions because I ordered them online from like a website and they came as American editions. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Might as well. These 2 I actually did get in the US. You know, rom-coms are rom-coms. I have different expectations for them. They're not supposed to be like phenomenal, but they were enjoyable. I like these. This one surprised me because I did not realize this was like a sci-fi story. So when we got to the sci-fi aspects of it, I was like, wait, what? Very confusing because I thought it was just a classic rom-com, but I like that. This one I did not like at all. I don't know what it was about it because it feels like something that should speak to me because the main character is depressed and the main love interest is a bigger man, and that should speak to me because I have experienced depression and I like bigger men, among other people. But for some reason it just did not work for me. I don't know why. It did not work. I liked this one. This one was fun. It was a vibe. This one I read in a day, but I absolutely hated it. It was not fun. This one was cool. This one was I love the Taylor Jenkins Reid universe. So The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six, I absolutely loved. I'm waiting to get the other 2 that exist in that universe. But Malibu Rising comes with one of those covers that's like cut off, and I'm refusing to buy it until they bring out a different edition. And the newest book is obviously only in hardback, and I don't want to get it in hardback, so I'm waiting to get those. The Song of Achilles, which I didn't enjoy. I've already talked about that. It's also got pages sticking out from it. They're somehow not attached. They like came off, so I use that as backdrop in photos. And then we've got The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And then down here we've got this Hank Green's books, loved them. John Green's books, and then a bunch of YA that I've read when I was a teenager, and Harry Potter. And then down there I'm not going to show because it's kind of irrelevant. It's like most of my family's books that I need to get back to them. Anyway, so these are all the books that I've read that I've got on my shelves, and now let's talk about my TBRs. So this is my TBR cart. There's actually not that many down there because I'm currently reading those. So none of these books I've read, but these are on the list. I've got my little highlighter thing here because I like to tab my books. I want to read some more Agatha Christie. I've got this beautiful edition of The Mystery of the Blue Train. I'm going to be reading this quite soon. We've got a couple more rom-coms. Somehow again, an American edition. I accidentally got British editions of 2 more rom-coms. We've got The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I actually didn't get this book. My sister got this book, but then she left it here and I was like, might as well read it because she obviously does not want it back. Currently in the process of reading A Court of Silver Flames, but also like I'm halfway through and I started it in July. I just can't get through it. I don't know why. I'm finding it incredibly boring. If I'm being completely honest, I don't know what it is. Cannot get through it. So it's you know, I read maybe a chapter every few weeks or so I'm gonna get through it eventually, but for some reason it just does not work for me. Then we've got Crescent City. I specifically got the US edition. I really wanted the US edition because I prefer this cover so much to the UK cover, so we've got that. I don't know when I'll be reading that, and also judging by how this is going, maybe not for a while, because it's the same author if you didn't know. Then we've got The Poppy War. I'm very excited to start reading that, but I need to be in the correct mindset for that because I hear that it's going to destroy me emotionally, and I don't think I'm ready for that currently. And then we've got The City We Became. This is actually one that I'm currently reading. This is my current physical read, about 100 pages in, I think, so I'm really just getting started. But this is a beautiful cover, and look at those sort of weird tentacle things. We've got a couple of like Russian fantasy books in the back. I just realized that I don't ever really read in Russian, so I decided to try. It's not going well. I know I'll probably enjoy this series because my friends have, but just the way that it's written, specifically the way that it's like formatted, it is literally just walls of text. There are no chapter breaks. There are no chapter breaks. It is just walls of text. On and on and on. And I am finding that very difficult to get into. Understandably so, I feel like. There was a break there, but that's a different story. It's not a chapter. It is like a collection of stories, so. Anyway, and the stories are quite big, so I'm finding it quite difficult to get into. This is another like physical read. Obviously I haven't really read that much of it. Eventually I'm gonna get into it, hopefully. And then there's the second one back there as well, which looks like this. I think it's really pretty. And then we've got these two. The Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn from the Throne of Glass series. So these two books come before the last one, and these two books are on the same timeline. The events of these two books happen at the same time, and if you read just one of them first, probably this one you're going to start with, then it ends on a cliffhanger, and then reading this one means like going back in time to the start of this one and like reading the series of events from a different perspective, like on a different continent, not continent, country, whatever. Anyway, point is, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to specifically read them in tandem, and beautiful people on the internet have created a list of how to read these in tandem. So like, oh, I'm gonna read chapters 1 through 5 of this one first, then read chapter 1 of this, then read chapter 6 of this, chapters 2 to 3 of this, and blah blah. There's like a million chapters, and they've written out exactly the reading order that you should have for these. Except the thing is, I'm not reading these physically. I have the physical books, but I'm not reading them physically. I'm listening to these in audiobook, so I'm attempting a tandem read of these in audiobook. It's going decently well so far. I think I'm around chapter 17. I don't remember which one of them. I think this one. I don't know which one it correlates to in that one, but I am like relatively far in-ish. Not that much because there's like 70 chapters of each, but I'm decently into the story now, and I feel like the tandem read is going well, so I'm going to be continuing doing that. Also, I don't like these covers. We've already discussed that in my previous vlog. Moving on, we've got The Bands of Mourning, which is actually book 3 in the second Mistborn trilogy, and I don't have book 2. I just happened to find this on the shelf and I was like, I need to get this because I'm going to read it eventually. But these are really hard to find in shops, so I might have to order the second one in, which I don't like doing. Then we've got The Atlas 6, which you cannot see, but it's like a dark academia story. We want to read that at some point. The Iron Widow, For the Wolf, which is a young adult. I'm trying to stay away from young adults, so I don't know when I'm going to get to this, but hopefully eventually. We've got The Jasmine Throne, book 1 and 2, which I know I'll enjoy, so I already got book 2. We've got We Hunt the Flame, we've got She Who Became the Sun, then the rest of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. And then down there, we've got The Name of the Wind, we've got Game of Thrones, which I'm probably never going to read in physical, if I'm ever going to read that, it's going to be audio. And we've got Legendborn and Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. Anyway, it's a pretty big TBR, but not as big as it could have been, you know? So I feel quite good about this, and I'm very happy that I've separated everything, so now it makes me much less anxious than it did before. Anyway, I think I'm going to be mostly cross-stitching currently, because this is what I am enjoying right now. But I do want to get back to bracelets soon, so there's probably going to be a bit in this vlog where I choose a pattern with you and make it. But let's get to cross-stitching for now. I've done all of the bits with the light green now, and we're sort of already kind of seeing the structure of where the branch is going to be. This is very exciting for me personally. Had to move it up a little bit. I think this bird was a little bit more centered before, but this didn't fit, so I had to move it up. The back looks absolutely horrific. I wonder if there is a better way to do this than I'm doing it, because this is still, like, I've only ever done one other cross-stitch project than this. This is only my second ever cross-stitch project, so I don't know what I'm doing, really. And I'm guessing this is not an ideal back, but it works fine for now. This is what the front looks like. I'm gonna switch to, I think, this darker green maybe. There's quite a bit of it across the branches here, so I'm gonna go switch to that. Alright, it's been a few weeks since I started filming this, and I've fully completed the cross-stitch project, which I'm actually genuinely surprised by. I did not think it would happen so quickly. It's not even December yet, and I finished this. But look how cute it is! I'm so happy that it's done. I absolutely love it. I was thinking what to do with it now that I've finished it. The previous cross-stitch project that I did, if you remember, I sort of put it in a frame. I took it out and I put it in a frame. I don't want to do the same with this one for a couple of reasons. First of all, I never used that frame. It's just kind of in a closet somewhere and it just is there. So if I put this one in a frame, I feel like it'll meet the same fate with just being unused and unseen, and I don't want to do that. But I also don't really want to display it for myself. Like, I don't have anywhere to display it. But Stefan, my husband, I've been sending him updates on how I've been doing the cross-stitch project, and he seemed to really like this, and he asked if I could give it to him, which I'm more than happy to do because he wants to display it in his family's country house. So that would be very nice. And I'm thinking I want to keep it in the loop. First of all, I just think it's cool. I really want to do that. And second of all, I don't particularly like this loop. I've used this loop for 2 projects now, and I don't feel like it tightens as much as I want it to tighten. Like, I would want it to be a little tighter than it is, but maybe I want too much. Maybe loops don't do that. But anyway, I want to have it be in the loop, and now I just need to figure out like how to like smush all of these pieces together to have them sort of be hidden if you want to just display it as a loop. So I'm going to watch some tutorials and figure out how to do that, but probably not in this vlog. I've got some book updates as well, but before I get to that, finally started a bracelet. It's now taped to my desk. We've got some interesting colors here. It's a very interesting color combination. This is the color combination I decided to go with. So there's like a couple of shades of pink, some yellow, some green, and purple. I feel like the colors look good together. I have no idea if they're gonna look good together in a pattern because the purple is kind of like an outline. The pinks and the yellow are kind of like the main colors, and then the green is like a little highlight color. I don't know if that's gonna look good, honestly, but we'll see. But yeah, basically what happened is I did a pretty big string unhaul, which I also did a video. And if you want to see that, I'll leave that linked in the card and in the description. But I got rid of a bunch of strings, and while I was in the process of doing that, I found a stash of DMC strings that I had, which I completely forgot existed. And I don't usually use DMC because it's quite expensive, but I do like the texture of it more than the string that I use. This DMC string is a little bit softer and it's just easier on the fingers, really, like when you're knotting. So I decided to make a bracelet exclusively out of DMC, hence why sort of the little bit unusual color combination. I don't really go with those colors usually, but I don't have that wide of a range. I do have a wide range, but not that wide of a range as with my normal string, so I couldn't really choose. There's no white here, for example. There's no black. Couldn't choose some of the colors that I usually would go with. So we'll see how that goes. Quite curious. And I will update you as I go along. And finally, the book update. So it's been 2 weeks since I started this vlog. I have a bit of a book update. This book, unfortunately, became my first DNF of the year, which DNF stands for did not finish. I got to 180 pages of this 500, I think, nearly 500 page book. So I got like pretty far into it, and I just decided I couldn't do it. Like, there's something about the writing style that just did not connect with me. The concept of the story I did really enjoy. The concept of this world and of the story is that cities, when they become a certain size or a certain like cultural significance, become alive. They turn into these living, breathing creatures and kind of spawn a human avatar. And we're following the city of New York, but unfortunately, as the city was being reborn and was sort of spawning this human avatar, as that process was taking place, there was this other entity that sort of attacked it and ended up sort of fracturing the process of New York becoming a city. And the main avatar for the city fell into a coma and spawned 5 extra avatars to represent the boroughs of New York. And now this big evil is hunting down the avatars for the boroughs and trying to take them out sort of one by one. And they're realizing what they are and trying to find each other and trying to defeat the big bad. That's the premise. And I do really like the premise, but something about the writing style just didn't work for me. We are on page 180 and we're still on day 1, and we are reliving the same sort of series of events with each of these avatars one by one, with them sort of discovering who they are, what they are, discovering the big bad, having a little bit of like a face-off with the big bad, and then trying to find each other. And we are reliving the same series of events over and over and over again, and I just got bored and I could not do it. And I watched a recap of someone sort of recapping where the book finishes to maybe get myself excited for something that's to come, to sort of see if there's anything like really interesting at the end of it that I want to get to and read. And it did not spark my interest, so I'm just giving up on it, which is an unfortunate turn of events. I really did think I was going to like this one, but I guess not for me. So I will be donating this book as well. But in some good news, I finished this one, which is How the King of Elfheim Learnt to Hate Stories. And this is such a pretty cover. It's just such a pretty edition. Like, I love like hardbacks actually have something on the cover of the books. That's my main complaint about hardbacks, specifically in the UK, is a lot of the time when there is a hardback edition of a book, there's nothing on the front page, whereas in Russia, the majority of the books are in hardback. And because the majority of the books are in hardback, they print the cover onto the cover of the hardback. So you actually have something on the hardback, and there's none of this like dust jacket action in Russian books. So I do like the way that the Russian print system does hardcovers, but this one actually has something that's really pretty and I like it a lot. And isn't this just gorgeous as well? So this is a part of the Cruel Prince series, which I read earlier this year and I really enjoyed. And this is like a collection of short stories about one of the characters without giving away too much. And it's a beautifully illustrated book as well. Like, I just had a wonderful experience reading this because of all these beautiful illustrations. Like, I don't usually read books that have illustrations, but I really deeply enjoyed this. So this was great, and also the story was really fun to read. So I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Next up, I read The Mystery of the Blue Train, which I already showed you this beautiful edition that I have as well. Isn't it gorgeous? I love this. This was a really fun read as well. I read it quite quickly. This is only the 3rd Agatha Christie novel that I've read, but I'm starting to really enjoy her, and I think I'm gonna probably read a lot more of Agatha Christie in 2023. Next, we have Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, which is called I'm Glad My Mum Died. I grew up watching iCarly. It was a big part of my childhood, so when I saw that this book exists, I knew I had to read it, and I felt like I really connected with her on a lot of levels reading this. I actually listened to this in audiobook, but I also decided to get the hardback just to have. It was also just a fantastically written. Honestly, it was fantastically written. So I just 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this. Also, this is the only non-fiction book I read this year, which is kind of funny. Like, if I use Storygraph along with Goodreads to track my reading, and on Storygraph you can see different like graphs about your reading. And yeah, this made 2% of non-fiction that I read this year, which is quite funny. And finally, this is my current read. I am 170 pages into the Atlas 6, and so far I am really enjoying it. This is a dark academia novel, and it's a story of 6 magicians who are invited to study and take part in this magical secret society that formed around the Library of Alexandria, which apparently is not lost. And all of the knowledge of the Library of Alexandria actually still exists, and this secret society is formed around taking care of that knowledge and the library. And we're following these 6 magicians with the knowledge that only 5 of them can remain. I'm finding this very beautifully written as well. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm excited to finish it. So there you go, there's my book update of the vlog. Let's get back to bracelets. So this is the pattern that I am making. There you go, made it a little bit bigger for you so you can actually see it on camera. But this is the pattern that I'm making, and yeah, so I've got the pinks and the yellow for the crosses. The green is going to be the white, and the purple is going to be the outline. Not a clue if this is a good color combination, but I am going to try it and see how it goes. I'm also nearly done with my Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn tandem read. I think I've got about 6-ish hours left to listen to. Mind you, the whole thing was about 60. It is genuinely only a little bit. Plus I listened to audiobooks, not all of them, but most audiobooks I listen to on double speed because I find it incredibly slow to listen to it at anything less. So 6 hours is actually 3 hours for me, so I might actually finish it. We shall see. Let's get to bracelet making. And here we are, I've done a pretty good chunk of it. I'm actually very happy with how this was turning out. I was concerned that the colors wouldn't look too great together, but I feel like they look really nice together here. It's definitely still more on the unusual side for me in terms of color combinations. Usually my bracelets always have at least a white or a black, especially if there's outlines like here. This one doesn't, but I still think it looks fantastic. There's quite a few other patterns on my to-dos that I want to make, specifically these ones, these two. I really want to get to those. So I think those will be my next bracelets to make. But I think this is where I'm gonna leave you guys today. I actually edited this video already and I realized that this is getting really long, so it's time for me to go. I still have a ton to talk to you guys about, so I'm probably gonna be filming another vlog, but because it takes me a couple of weeks to film these, there's probably gonna be a big gap again. But I will see you soon. There's definitely more tutorials and other fun stuff coming. I already have some pre-filmed that is coming out soon. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. A huge and special shout out to my patrons and especially my top supporters. Thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. And if you also want to become a patron, support the work that I do on this channel, the link to that is in the description as always. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you would check out my book if you haven't already. I'm so proud of it, and I'm really happy that those of you who have already got it really seem to enjoy it, and it makes for a great gift for the holiday season if that's something that you're thinking of doing. But anyway, thank you so much for watching regardless. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!